mga nasa likod ng bawat laro, sa buhay man o sa playing court, game na tayo! Power and Play sa Radyo 5 92.3 News FM.
Kapwa ko Pilipino, ipagmalaki ang galing na meron tayo. Ilantad ang likas nating talento at magdala ng saya sa mundo. Sa harap ng pagsubok ay di susuko, para sa pangarap tayo'y porsigido. Magpakitang gilas na at magpapatalo, ipagdiwang natin ang Pilipino. Yan ang Pinoy. Mula noon at hanggang ngayon, talento natin ng bida. Mula sa simpleng bakuran hanggang entablado natin ipakita. May pagsubok man ng Pinoy, pinalalakas ng saya. San man tayo sa pulot, sumbe, sibay, lakay, amiga. Sama-samang pakita ang galing natin katropa sa kapwa ko Pilipino.
Ang isa po sa pinaka-inaabangan ng mga fans sa pagdating sa sports ay yung mga tinatawag na comeback stories. Yung pong kagandahan ng sports dahil sa pagtatagumpay ng human spirit. Yan po ang ating pag-uusapan ngayong umaga mula po sa magandang lalawigan ng Laguna. E di paano? Bago na. Power and Play na. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat, mga kapatid. Nagbabalik po ang inyong paboritong kasama tuwing Sabado ng umaga. Walang iba kundi ang Power and Play. Hatid sa inyo ng Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum Cherry Tigo, it's fun to drive. At ng Chooks to Go, ang nag-iisang manok ng bayan. Ako, napakaganda po ng araw natin mula dito po sa Pagsanghan, Laguna. Dito po sa aking kinatutuluyan na Casa Marina Bed and Breakfast. Maraming salamat sa lahat po ng staff ng Casa Marina. Napakagandang lugar. Isa pong bed and breakfast. Malapit sa ilog, sa river. At ito po ay patungo dun sa ating tinatawag na Pagsanghan Falls. And kung kayo po ay magkakaroon ng pagkakataon, napakaganda naman talaga ng ating bayan, ng ating bansa. Puntahan nyo po ang ating mga tourist spots, lalong-lalo na ngayong summer. Tag-araw, sabi na wala daw summer tag-araw o tag-tuyot, di ba? Parang ganun. At pumasyal po kayo dito sa Pagsanghan, Laguna, sa Casa Marina Bed and Breakfast. Nako, pinag-uusapan ko doon sa ating intro, yan pong mga tinatawag na comeback stories, no? Yung pong mga comeback stories. Alam niyo po kasi, ang pinakamainit na nangyayari ngayong ito pong weekend na ito ay yung pong isang golf tournament dyan sa Estados Unidos, sa Amerika. Yung pong pinakamalaking golf tournament, one of the 4 majors in golf, yung tinatawag na The Masters sa Augusta, Georgia. At alam niyo po, ang kwento dito, hindi lamang yung kung sino mananalo ng The Masters, kung sino ang paborito. Pero ang kwento po ngayon ay yung pagbabalik ni Tiger Woods. Mantakin nyo mga kapatid, si Tiger Woods ay naaksidente. Siguro mahigit 1 taon na po ang nakalilipas noong pong 2021. It was a terrible accident, isa pong car accident kung saan ang mga binti at paa ni Tiger Woods ay kinangailangan ng operasyon. Nilagyan po ng mga tornilyo yan. In fact, may mga bali-balita, halos putulin na yung paa ni Tiger Woods kung hindi lamang nasagip ng mga doktor. At siya po ay matagal na hindi naglaro pamula po na aksidente, alam naman natin, galing sa pandemya, hindi rin nakapaglaro. Kaya po, marami na nagsasabing hindi na makakabalik ang isa sa pinakamagaling na golfers sa buong kasaysayan ng golf. Subalit, nagpakita siya ng mga sinyales. Naglaro siya doon sa father and son kasama ng kanyang anak na si Charlie. At merong konting sinyales na maaari pang pumalo. Pero ang tanong, magiging competitive pa. Ngayong linggo pong ito, nagpakita si Tiger Woods sa Augusta. Nag-practice ng ilang beses doon po sa napakagandang golf course. At nag-anunsyo na siya po ay maglalaro. One of the greatest comebacks ever in sports. Dahil ngayon po, ay si Tiger Woods ay lumalaban. Alam niyo, mahirap na yung bumalik mula sa injury. Mas mahirap pa yung mag-contend at that highest level. Kaya po, talagang nakakatuwa na ito pong pagbabalik ni Tiger Woods ay nagdulot muli ng kaligayahan, ng excitement sa mundo ng golf. Kaya naman mga kapatid, talagang yan po ang mga kwento na gusto nating marinig mula sa sports. Katulad na rin yan ng mga iba pang mga comeback stories pagdating sa sports. Yung pong comeback story ni, tandaan nyo si Terry Saldana, Terry Saldana ng PBA, nung pong halos hindi natin malaman kung makakatayo pa ito si Terry Saldana doon sa kanyang pambihirang nangyari. Yung pong nasirang Terry Saldana, dati po itong player ng Toyota at nagkaroon po siya ng aksidente. Nakabalik pa si Terry Saldana. Yung storya po ni Paul George noong 2014, nung siya po ay nagpa-practice sa Team USA, na halos din mabali na yung kanyang binti. Pero nakabalik pa muli mula sa 2014 injury si Paul George. And of course, yung mga recent recent comebacks. Comeback nito, ito lamang itong PVL comeback kung saan ang daming koponan nagpakita ng kanilang kagalingan. Come back from adversity to make it all the way to the finals katulad ng Petrogas. So yan po ang mga triumph of the human spirit, ika nga. At yan ang ating tututukan ngayong araw na ito sa ating palatuntunan. Kaya po ang ating mga guests mamaya, isang mama na gumawa ng kasaysayan, world history. Guinness Book of World Records holder siya, 17 records mula sa Guinness for ocean rowing. Inikot po niya ang planeta ng mundo para po makagawa ng kasaysayan. Siya po ay isang Turkish-American, Erden Eruc, na naglanding sa Albay last week of March. At siya po ay paalis na lamang, I think aalis siya this coming week, pero nandito pa siya sa ating bansa. At inabutan po ng power and play siya at nating nakausap. Very interesting discussion with Erden Eruc, a circumnavigator, mag-isang umikot sa mundo sa kanyang sariling kakayahan. Yung pong, siya po ay nagsagwan, mantakin niyo mga kaibigan, nagsagwan pamula California, paikot ng mundo. Dito po sa kanyang huling biyahe, pamula California hanggang dito po sa Pilipinas to cross the Pacific Ocean. Gamit lamang ang kanyang sariling lakas. Mamaya po ay makakausap natin siya. Isa pa pong triumph of the human spirit, kwento po ni Coach Alton Lister. Siya po ay dating NBA player, isa sa pinakamagaling na sentro, backup center, pero magaling pa rin. Alam niyo, pag umabot kayo sa NBA, iba naman ang inyong kategorya. At siya po ay nagpunta ng Pilipinas para magtrabaho, maghanap ng mga matuturuang bata. And so far, again, napakarami na po niya naturuan at siya po ngayon ay kasama na ng Ateneo Blue Eagles sa patuloy na namamayagpag sa UAAP. Mamaya po, makakausap din natin si Coach Alton Lister, dating Milwaukee Bucks. At ngayon, nagtrabaho sa San Miguel Beermen, sa Meralco Bolts at sa TNT Katropa. Ngayon po siya ay nasa Ateneo Blue Eagles. Mamaya po makakausap din natin yan. And of course, hihimayin natin ang iba pang mga kwento ng palakasan. Ngayong araw po ito, kasama ng inyong mga paboritong sports analysts, Homer Saison at Anthony Suntay. Kaya abangan nyo po lahat yan sa ating kwentuhan ngayong araw pong ito sa Power and Play. Siya nga pala, binabati natin lahat po ng ating mga tagapakinig mula po sa Apari hanggang Hulo sa Radyo 5 92.3 News FM. Magandang umaga po sa inyo. Lalong-lalo ng ating mga kababayan dito po sa lalawigan ng Laguna. Yung po mga nanonood sa 1PH on Signal TV, good morning. Naimbag na bigat dyan po sa ating mga kababayan sa Baguio City and of course sa Pangasinan. And of course, hello world sa lahat po ng mga nanonood sa Facebook Live ng Power and Play, sa ating Facebook page ng 1PH at ng Radyo 5 92.3 News FM. All right, so much to unpack today from the beautiful town of Pagsanghan, where it's a beautiful day. Kahapon umuulan pero ngayon napakaganda ng sikat ng araw. Kaya siguro sikatan na rin natin ng araw ang ating Power and Play ngayong Sabado ng umaga sa pamamagitan ng ating Sports Weekly Highlights. Una sa lahat, wagi sa US NCAA tournament ang Kansas Jayhawks matapos ang epic comeback kontra North Carolina Tar Heels. Natambakan ng hanggang 16 points ang Kansas sa first half. Pagdating ng second, nagbuhos ng 11 ng kanyang 14 na puntos si Philippine guard Remy Martin para matulungan makabangon ng Kansas at makuha ang 72-69 win. Proud namang ibinida ni Remy ang kanyang Filipino heritage pagkatapos ng tagumpay. Sa kanyang Instagram post, nasa likod ng Philippine guard ang watawat ng Pilipinas habang hawak ang NCAA National Champion Trophy. Anya, this is bigger than me. Mabuhay ka, Remy. Congratulations. At talaga namang yan ang talagang tunay na champion. Sa NBA naman, masamang balita po para sa maraming Pinoy fans. Laglag na sa playoff contention ang Los Angeles Lakers. Kasunod yan ng talo ng Lakers kontra Phoenix Suns nitong Miyerkules. Di naglaro sa do-or-die game na yan si LeBron James dahil sa iniindang ankle soreness. Ang pinakamalaking misteryo ngayon, mananatili pa kaya sa Lakers si LeBron pagkatapos ng season? Abangan nyo po yan, pag-uusapan natin yan sa Fast Take. Dito na tayo sa ating home court. Call them Fiber Xers, parang 76ers. Yan po ang napiling moniker ng Converge sa pinakaunang season nito sa PBA. Sa launch ng bagong PBA team, ipinangako ni team owner Dennis Anthony Uy na magiging competitive ang kanilang koponan. May 2 first-round draft picks ang Converge sa paparating na draft na pwede nilang gamitin para mas mapalakas pa ang roster. Good luck sa Converge. Good news naman po, sinimula nang itayo ang Center for Sports Excellence sa Antipolo, Rizal. Yan ay sa pangunguna ng MVP Sports Foundation. Magiging tahanan at training ground po yan ng ating mga atleta para matulungan silang marating ang world-class level. Una pong itatayo ang boxing at badminton facilities. May gagawin ding basketball court, weightlifting area, at marami pang iba. At yan po ang buod ng ating mga balita sa Sports Weekly Highlights. Napakarami ang dami pong pinag-uusapan. Of course, larangan po ng palakasan, balita ko lamang po si Alex Iyala, yung mga fans ng aking pamangkin, ay nanalo po dyan sa Thailand. Pasok na siya sa semifinal sa isang W25 o yung sabihin 25,000 Pro Tournament. At ang makakaharap niya ngayon ay isang Hapon. Chinese yata. No? Nanalo siya sa isang Hapon. So, good luck sa ating kababayang si Alex Ayala as she goes for her second professional title. Of course, inaabangan po natin ang mga katapusan ng The Masters. Mamaya magtatapat ang Ateneo at saka UST sa UAAP. Patuloy na namamayagpag ang Ateneo pero ang UP right there behind them and of course ang De La Salle University. Alright, pinag-uusapan po natin ngayon ang pagkakalaglag ng Los Angeles Lakers. Pambihirang kamote ito. Alam niyo po ang LA, 18 games behind or below 500 o yung pong 50% ng kanilang mga panalo ay sila po ay 18 para lamang makakalahati o 50% ng win season. 18 games behind. Pambihirang kamote talaga, mga kaibigan. Kaya po, napasibat na sila, tanggal na sila sa playoffs. Mantakin nyo ba naman yun? Sa simula ng season, lahat nagsasabi, naku, ang lakas dahil sumama si Russell Westbrook kay Anthony Davis at LeBron James. Ngayon po, tanggal na sila mula sa season sa playoff ng NBA. So yan po ang ating pupulsuhan, mga kapatid. Dahil napakasakit na nangyari sa Los Angeles Lakers. So ang ating pupulsuhan ngayon, mga kaibigan, sa ating pulso ng bayan, atid sa inyo ng Chooks to Go, ang nag-iisang manok ng bayan, kung saan, kung kayo po ay mapipili naming magbibigay ng komentaryo, hindi naman kailangan napakaganda, hindi naman kailangan tama o mali. Basta po mapili kayo sa inyong komentaryo na reasonable o di kaya ikwela. Mga kapatid, bibigyan po namin kayo ng 2 gift certificates para mula sa Chooks to Go, ang nag-iisang manok ng bayan. Napakasarap ng kanilang oven roasted chicken. And of course, ang kanilang lahat po ng produkto. Sinabi pa nga sa akin ng kaibigan ko, pwede palang i-claim for a liempo. Aba, hindi lamang pala manok. Mula sa Chooks to Go, nag-iisang manok ng bayan. Alright, ito po ang ating pulso ng bayan ngayong umagang ito. Matapos ang early exit ng Los Angeles Lakers, ano ang dapat gawin ng team para magsimula ang kanilang rebuild next season? Ulitin ko po yan, Matapos ang early exit ng LA Lakers, ano ang dapat gawin ng team para magsimula ang kanilang rebuild next season? Again, magpadala po kayo ng inyong komentaryo via Twitter or via our Facebook page sa Power and Play, mga kapatid, sa Power and Play. At kayo po ay magkakaroon ng gift certificates. 2 po ang aming pipilian mula sa Chooks to Go, ang nag-iisang manok ng bayan. Alright, mga kapatid, marami tayong pag-uusapan ngayong araw na ito. Of course, mamaya-maya, makakausap natin sa ating Fast Take ang inyong mga paboritong sports analyst. Abangan nyo po yung ating 2 interview again later on. We're coming to you live from Pagsanghan, Laguna, dito po sa Casa Marina Bed and Breakfast. At marami pa po tayong pag-uusapan sa Power and Play ngayong Sabado ng umaga. So dyan lang po kayo. Magbabalik po kami dito sa Power and Play. Hatid sa inyo ng Cherry Loom, Cherry Tigo, at ng Chooks to Go. Ang oras po natin, 8:17 ng umaga. This time check is brought to you by Birmingham Subdivisions. Come home to Birmingham.
I dare to dream big, to be a voice of my generation, to inspire resilience in the face of roadblocks. And in sharing my stories, I let others share in my passion.
Follow Kai's stories on Twitter and share yours. With Smart Double Giga Stories. Share 2 times the passion with 2 gigabytes for Twitter and more. Guaranteed every day. Plus data for all sites.
Simple, smart ako.
Alex, are you ready to have some fun on your first driving lesson?
Nag-uumapaw sa real chicken juice na swak sa panlasa ng buong pamilya. Available in sweet roast, pepper roast, at harissa roast variants. Chooks to Go. Masarap kahit walang sauce. Tawag na sa Chooks to Go Delivery Hotline 8687-1010 o online sa chookstogodelivery.com or via GrabFood at Foodpanda.
Basta man siya, di kailangan ng mamahaling panlaba.
Sa Surf, linis ay todo at aming best ever bango. Ang surf na gamit nyo na with our best ever bango. Sa Surf, linis ay todo
ever bango versus previous formulations. Todo linis na singgaling na mamahalin based on technical test versus Brand X powder on polyester.
Ang surf na gamit nyo, todo linis at aming best ever bango.
Mukhang kailangan ko na naman palitan ng bubong ko, pare. Mag-iisang taong pa lang yan. May tulo na kagad.
Ay, bossing! Baka naman kasi hindi matibay yung ginamit nyo. Dapat ang gamitin mo ay cherry loom. Ang yerong aluminum. Basta yero, cherry loom. Tibay protektado sa pangmatagalang yero.
Basta man siya, di kailangan ng mamahaling panlaba.
Sa surf, linis ay todo at aming best ever bango. Ang surf na gamit nyo na with our best ever bango. Sa surf, linis ay todo at aming best ever bango. Ang surf na gamit nyo, todo linis at aming best ever bango.
New Surf with Active Clean with our best ever bango versus previous formulations. Todo linis na singgaling na mamahalin based on technical test versus Brand X powder on polyester.
Ang surf na gamit nyo, todo linis at aming best ever bango.
Sinong kupunan na magiging kampyeon this season?
Ganda ng niya, pakagat dun sa dumidepensa. Oo.
Meralco ahead. Could they be a few moments away from making it to the championship? PBA Governors Cup Finals. Simula April 6 sa TV5 at One Sports.
Noli Iyala Power and Play sa Radyo 5 92.3 News FM. Power and Play with Noli Iyala.
Nagbabalik po mga kaibigan ng Power and Play mula sa Pagsangahan, Laguna. And again, kamusta po kayo lahat, mga suki natin tuwing Sabado. Tsaka pala, yung mga nag-aabang kahapon po ay naitabla na ng Barangay Ginebra ang kanilang serye sa PBA Governors Cup Finals. Tinalo nila ang Meralco Bulls. So tabla na po tayo 1-1 sa Best of 7 series ng PBA. Samantala, ang Creamline Cool Smashers, congratulations! Ay nanalo na po ng kampyonato ng PVL Open Conference kahapon. Tinalo nila ang Petrogas via a sweep. At sila po ay nakabalik na muli sa tuktok ng volleyball world after missing out last time laban sa Cherry Tigo. Well, balik na uli ang Creamline kasama ng MVP awardee na si Tots Carlos and of course the Phenom, Alyssa Valdez. Bago po natin ipasok, at yan lang po, by the way, lahat po yan, pag-uusapan natin dito sa ating susunod na segment at ang inyong kasamang mga paboritong sports analyst. Pero bago po yan, isa lamang pong paalala mula sa ating mga kaibigan from Smart. Puso Pilipinas is a movement to celebrate the Filipino athlete powered by Smart. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Get a chance to win exclusive Puso Pilipinas merch by sharing their Facebook page in your social media accounts with hashtag Puso Pilipinas. The Giga Life app is the latest mobile app from Smart that lets you discover and enjoy your passions with the different Giga promos. It can be downloaded and used by Smart Postpaid, Smart Prepaid, Bro Prepaid, and TNT subscribers via the Apple or Google Play Store. What can the Giga Life app do for me? Check your balance, monitor your current subscription, top up using debit credit card, subscribe to the latest Giga promos, monitor your data consumption, auto-detect your mobile number when you are connected to Smart Network One-Tap subscription to the most popular offer, Giga Video 99. And of course, Power and Play is powered by Smart. Alright, ready na tayo sa ating unang set na mga panauhin this morning sa ating April 9 edition. April 9, ano pala ngayon? Ano? Araw ng Kagitingan ba? O parang Bataan Day? Di ba nung araw, alam ko yan, Bataan Day. So it's a holiday. Happy holiday sa lahat po sa atin. Ha? At saka pala, happy birthday din kay Jackie. Kay Jackie Baltasar, isa po naming matalik na kaibigan. Happy birthday. Ate Jackie. Yes. Alright, ready na po tayo sa ating unang set of guests. Walang iba kundi inyong paboritong, dito po sa inyong paboritong segment ng Fast Take. At ang Fast Take kahitin sa inyo ng Cherry Tigo. It's fun to drive and we're very fortunate to have with us today live dito po sa ating palatuntunan si sports analyst, mga sports analyst, paborito nyo po ito maging boxing, basketball, volleyball, Anthony Santay and Homer Sison from Chicago. Good morning, gentlemen!
Good morning. How are you? Hello, Com. Hello,
Ayun!
Homer.
Hey, good morning.
Ang ganda naman ng t-shirt ni Anthony. Talagang kompletos regados. New York. Buti na lang, hindi New York Knicks yan, Anthony.
Maglalaro kasi ako mamaya eh.
Opening day.
Mag-exercise ako ng konti.
Yun ang maganda dyan. Well, alam mo, Homer, finally, I got you on the show. Ang daming beses na nauunsyame. So you're finally here, the most colorful man on social media sa sports. No, and that's a compliment, Homer.
Thank you, I know.
That's a compliment.
That's why I follow Homer.
I think it's about 2.4 million na yata followers ito si Homer eh. Talagang sa dami.
1.6 pa, 1.6 million.
1.6, okay. Sumahabol ka na kay Anthony Sontay. Anthony, 1.7 million yan. All right, before I get to the fast take issues, I was talking about itong mga, alam mo, syempre, kasarapan ng sports, yung mga comeback stories, no? And Anthony, I'll begin with you. The biggest story this weekend is the comeback of Tiger Woods sa the Masters. Nobody thought about this maybe 6 months ago, 4 months ago, a month ago, even a week ago. This was unthinkable. And today, he is contending. He's not only playing in Augusta, he is contending. Your thoughts on this? And do you think that, he can survive itong kanyang paglalaro sa Augusta?
Well, all of this definitely is the product of modern medicine. Nobody thought that he was going to be able to come back. Nobody thought he was going to be able to play. I'm a big Tiger Woods fan. In fact, what happened was, the year before the pandemic, I actually flew all the way to Tokyo, Japan, to be able to watch the Zozo Championship because he was competing there. I've never seen Tiger in person. And so I said, that's part of my bucket list. Kailangan ko mapanood si Tiger. And that actually in Japan was where he won his 82nd PGA Tour title to tie the overall record. So I was very fortunate to be able to do that. And I was actually greenside when he actually hit his winning putt to be able to get that championship. And so, I was looking forward to him winning even more majors. Unfortunately, the accident happened. When that happened, I told myself, wala na. Tapos na talaga to. And, I saw all of the pictures of the reconstructive surgery na ginawa sa kanya. And sabi ko, naku, talagang, the doctors did a tremendous job. But again, being able to actually walk for 4 straight days, and in Augusta, they were saying, is probably one of the hardest courses to be able to walk through. Pero nagawa niya, Kom. So, he was able to go through 2 days. And, I'm very happy with what has happened. And, I guess talagang lahat ng kanyang mga followers, you just saw the number of people following his particular flight. Not just in the actually first 2 days of the tournament, but yung practice round pa lang, dami ng tao. So, it was, I guess all of us were collectively praying. All of us, even the other golfers, they want to see Tiger. They want to compete against the best. And so now that he's back, nakikita nila na they can actually compare themselves to him. Maybe he's not at the ultimate best that he was before the injury because nakita mo, he's playing a lot smarter though. He's not hitting the ball as hard as he possibly can, and he's looking for the right spot to be able to put his ball. But the control is there, Com. So nakikita natin.
Right now he
has
is
a very, very good chance of winning.
He started with a 1 under in the first round. He shot a 2 over today, so he's 1 over for the tournament, but that's still within striking distance. But more importantly, he's playing in the weekend. That yan lang naman ang gusto makita ng mga golf fans. Homer, this is a comeback that is unparalleled, but obviously there have been other great comebacks in sports, no? Particularly in basketball. I remember Paul George in 2014. Halos mabali yung kanyang pinte, but look at Paul George. Of course, he's had his injuries as well, but he came back strong. 2 years later, he had a career high average. Is this something that, sabi nga ni Anthony, is just a miracle that comes from sports medicine? And how big is this story for people like you that is covering sports?
Yes, it just shows the power of athletes like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. Like, for instance, I'm not a big golf fan, as you know, pero I follow it. And the casual fan follows golf because of Tiger Woods. Yun ang the ability to drag the common folk. Even na yung people who are not necessarily into sports, when you say Tiger Woods, nakikilala nila si Tiger Woods. Again, I would agree with Anthony. It's a marvel of modern medicine. Wala na kasi back in the day, look at Kevin McHale. He broke his right foot in the 1984 NBA playoffs, and now he's walking with a limp. Kasi the medicine, the orthopedic science was not the same as it is now. Tiger Woods,
That's right.
he nearly got amputated, Commissioner. And then yesterday, this was the most fascinating statistics for me. By finishing the first round, minus one, one under par, he beat 8 of the top 12 current golf players in the world, considering he's ranked 100, just right out of the blue. But then to answer your question, ito ang mahirap. The Masters in Augusta is one of the hardest golf courses in all over the world kasi napaka-uphill. And with the rains consistently pounding the greens yesterday and today, lalong mahirap lalakarin. The next 2 days, in the next 2 rounds, Commissioner, Tiger Woods would have to walk 2 more miles. And, that would be, sabi nga niya, the recovery was yesterday. He nearly had to freeze himself to death. Naka-ice lahat because that is the best way you recover. So, I hope he wins. But to be honest, Commissioner, pag manalo si Tiger, I will wrestle with a live tiger.
Well, I don't mind if he doesn't win. As long as I see him play, it's good enough for me. I think it's a victory for the human
For the
spirit.
sport.
Pagdating
Yes,
sa
exactly.
for the athletes. Talking about
100%.
comebacks, I want to ask you, Homer, here, another comeback. And this is the comeback of the reunion match between Nonito Donaire and Inoue coming in June. How big is this rematch? Because alam naman natin kung gaano kaganda ang ipinakita ni Nonito Donaire last year during the pandemic at age 57?
37.
Nobody even thinks about his age anymore. But Inoue is a monster. He's a beast. Lahat pinapatumba niya. How big is this fight, Homer?
Big. Traditionally in boxing, the lower weights do not get paid money. That's why Pacquiao fought. Pacquiao made his money. He didn't make money when he was 108 pounds. He made his money when he climbed up to 135, 147 kasi nandun ang pera. But this fight, I heard Nonito Donaire is making $1 million. So that just shows you, yes, the same amount of money that was offered to General Casimero. Hindi natuloy, di ba? Remember that? Because of the pandemic. And big in a sense of money, big in a sense that it's going to be in Tokyo, which is also crazy with boxing. In fact, may malaki silang card tomorrow with Gennady Triple G Golovkin's fighting tomorrow against Morata. So it's really huge. And then I'm a polluted source. I like Nonito Donaire. Obviously, I've covered him for so many fights in Las Vegas. Pero man, itong boxing is a sport just like tennis and gymnastics. It tends to devour the young. And the age difference, yun lang nga. But pag tatamaan sa left hook, we have a good chance. But there's a reason why the odds makers who make their living predicting outcomes of sports events where millions of dollars change hands. There's a reason why nandun sila. There's a reason why they're very good. So there's also a reason why pinili nila si Inoue as the favorite. But I'm counting on Nonito Donaire to somehow pluck that magic. One more time, Nonito Donaire. The flash.
Anthony, you're a big fight fan. You cover MMA, you cover boxing. This is a fight na aabangan nating lahat. Siyempre, after the retirement of Manny Pacquiao, Nonito Donaire is our biggest fighter out there. And your thoughts on this fight and how do you see this going?
Well, first and foremost, I'm just glad it's finally here. Napatagal nito. A lot of people, all the fans were asking for it to be, let's run it back. Sabi nga nila, di ba? Dahil ang napakaganda na laban. Inoue actually, I think personally, had this toughest fight against Nonito Donaire. And that's one of the main reasons why hindi natuloy na maaga itong rematch na to. Dahil medyo takot ata si Inoue sa lakas ng power ni Donaire. And I think, given a puncher's chance, I think Nonito can actually pull it out this time. So, I'm knocking on wood. But at the same time, sa tingin ko may konting takot talaga si Inoue. Parang iniwasan talaga niya si Donaire for the longest time. But right now, he's pushed into a corner. Wala na siyang magagawa. So ngayon, makikita natin, bakbakan talaga ng ibang klase ang mapapanood natin pag naglaban itong dalawang.
Abangan natin lahat yan. Sa June, of course, ang laban ng ating The Filipino Flash, Nonito Donaire. Alright, Before we continue ang ating kwentuhan dito, syempre kailangan ko munang ilabas ang ating mga fast take issues this morning. Dito sa fast take, walang tama, walang mali, bato-bato sa langit. Alam ni Homer yan at alam ni Anthony yan. Tamaan, huwag magagalit. And of course, ang opinion lamang ni Homer at ni Anthony ang mahalaga. 1 minute only for every question. I will begin with our first fast take issue of the morning. Ito tungkol sa nangyayaring PBA Governors Cup. Very simple. Right now, it's tied 1 game apiece. So, ang unang fast take, ano ang inyong fearless forecast para sa PBA Governors Cup Finals? I will begin with you, Homer. 1 minute. Go.
I like Meralco, and to me, it's a matter of it's a function of preference than metrics. Kasi I have many friends at Meralco. But anyway, for me, Commissioner, it's not a question of ability to beat Ginebra. They have shown that. It's a question of sustainability. Can they sustain? In game 1, they held the Gen Kings to 39% from the field, 28% from three-point range. In game 2, they were not able to sustain that. Ginebra shot 46% from the field. Game 1, they held Brownlee to 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Game 2, he had 36 and 13 points and 4 assists. So yun, those little things. Maliksi, a sports car can go 0 to 60 miles in 5 seconds. Alain Maliksi went from 22 to 0 points between 1 and game 2. You have to sustain the defense, the offense to be able to beat Ginebra. And I believe that the Meralco Bolts have the weapon to do that. Ibang usapan kung nandito si Japet at saka si Pringle, but they're not there. That's why I think Meralco will win.
This is the 4th time they're meeting. Hindi pa nananalo ang Meralco. So that's a bold prediction right there, Homer. Anthony, I'll go with you. Ano ang iyong prediction for the Governors Cup Finals Series is tied 1-1. 1 minute, Anthony. Go.
You know, Com, I had the opportunity to actually cover Game 2 live yesterday. Nakita ko both teams, very, very, going at it. And nakikita natin, para sa akin, plain and simply put, it'll all boil down to injuries. Wala nga si Japet Aguilar, but he was actually there. He was warming up before the game. If Japet comes back, I think Barangay Ginebra can still actually win it. But it's gonna boil down to, once again, sustaining their injuries. Now, pag hindi, sa tingin ko, Meralco will finally be able to come out with a breakthrough victory over Barangay Ginebra. But if Japet comes back, even if he's about 60-70%, I think that tips in favor of Barangay Ginebra, and Barangay Ginebra will get the title. So, if Japet doesn't come back, I think Meralco can get it. If Japet does come back, it goes over to Barangay Ginebra.
I have to, agree with both of you, but ako, as far as I'm concerned, first of all, I think this series is going Game 7. The PBA needs it. I think the series has been always Game 7 series. In the past, talagang umaabot sila hanggang dulo. I think everything matches up. Tony Bishop, Brownlee are almost the same. Of course, Brownlee has that familiarity with the league. That's why he's so good now. And then, of course, the locals. But I think in the end, Ginebra might just pull this off. I think they have the crowd, with the crowd back in there, and ang pinag-uusapan dito, maglalaro sa Philippine Arena. That can be so intimidating if you go down to Game 7. So I think because of the sheer 6-man power, I think Ginebra might just squeeze this through. But if Meralco will take this, I think they will have to win it before Game 7. All right, let's go to our second fast take of the morning. Pag-usapan natin UAAP. This was a controversial, there was a controversial incident that happened sa UAAP kung saan yung UE head coach, Jack Santiago, was suspended for 2 games dahil meron daw siyang nasabi sa kanya mga players na parang, in so many words, saktan ninyo si Richie Rivero, no? And that was deemed by the UAAP as an act that was certainly inimical to the interests of the UAAP. So, my fast take issue, Anthony, and I'll begin with you. Sapat na ba o kulang ang naging sanction kay UE coach Jack Santiago? 1 minute, Anthony. Go.
Okay, so let me qualify my answer because we know Jack Santiago. He's a fiery guy. I've known him so long, and I've actually also had the opportunity through the years of broadcasting to be able to sit into the huddles. And who knows what really goes on in these huddles. Ang dami sinasabi ng coaches. Now, he's denying it. So if he never said it, obviously masasabi natin hindi maganda yung sanctions. But if he actually did say it, and knowing the UAAP, they did their investigation, and so talagang they felt that he really did tell his players to be able to hurt itong si Richie Rivero. So if that's true, if the investigation turned out to be true, then I think 2 games is not enough. I think you should be suspended for at least one half of the season, maybe the entire first round. The current first round na nilalaro nila ngayon ko.
All right. Well, I know Jack Santiago as well. This guy is, I see him in the driving range. He's a really good gentleman. But again, we don't know what happens on the court. A lot of coaches ay nagpapalit ng character pag nasa loob na ng court. Homer, same question. Sapat na ba ang sanction na ipinataw kay Jack Santiago ng UAAP? 1 minute, Homer. Go!
I'm gonna operate on the notion that the words were said. Otherwise, the UAAP wouldn't have handed down the punishment. So, assuming that this is true, the 2-game suspension is a joke. Crime is about punishment and deterrence. To deter the commission of another crime in the future, you impose stiffer sanctions. 2 games is a joke. Hindi pwede yan. And also, the most important component in the world of crime and punishment is retribution. Punishment is the vessel that satisfies the sense of retribution na kailangan mo to placate. The punishment is not to hurt Jack Santiago or any other perpetrator. The punishment is a means with which to satisfy the victims. Nasabihin sa kanila, pinarusahan namin to make you whole somehow. This was not a sense of retribution. This was a consolation. Just for the UAAP to say, now we punished him, but justice was not served here. And what the nerve of UE to appeal the 3-game suspension. It was a wrong message to say, hey, we condone this because you suspend our coach for 3 games, kahit sinabi niya to, please make it 2 games. Bad message. I thought UE was better than that.
I totally agree with you, Homer, dito sa particular incident na to. Again, I will work on the assumption that the UAP is doing their job. I know Jack, he is a nice guy, as I mentioned. He's a gentleman off the court, but many things happen when you're in the court. And if that really happened, I agree with you, Homer. 2 games is a joke. And of course, and as you said, no, this is not retribution. This is a deterrent para hindi na maulit-ulit ito. Sapagat hindi po pwedeng sabihin ng mga coaches ng kahit na sino na tama na manakit ng player. Definitely in a league, especially in the collegiate league, yan ay isang malaking bawal at dapat yan ay protektahan ng UAAP. Yes,
as an addendum, Commissioner, the UAAP went hard on Erden Eruc, and deservedly so, Coach Erden Eruc, but the crime with which Erden Eruc committed hurt his team, himself, his university. The crime that is alleged to have been committed by Jack Santiago did not just hurt his team, it had the potential of hurting the players of other teams. So this is ito ang napakasakla. Now, if you cannot punish Jack Santiago appropriately, then free Erden Eruc. Give him the justice he deserves. Let him return to the UAAP. Diba? Dapat is this what justice is all about? Hammer and nail analogy. You're giving Erden Eruc the sledgehammer, and then you're giving this guy a small hammer for the very big nail that he had committed. So, yun lang ang point ko, Commissioner. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but, now I see Erden Eruc as a victim. And I'm sorry that I castigated him in my previous columns, but given now the spine with which, the UAP, the spine that they did not have in this particular issue, which they flexed during the Erden Eruc incident, it's so disappointing. So, Erden Eruc, free Erden Eruc. Bili tayo ng t-shirt. Free Erden Eruc.
That's another matter and we can discuss that another time. All right, let's go to our third and final take of the morning. All right, this is tungkol naman sa NBA. And we know what has happened in the NBA. We're almost nearing the end of the regular season and the Lakers will not be back in the postseason. And now, ang pinag-uusapan, si Frank Vogel basta matapos ang regular season. So ang tanong, before we even talk about the Lakers, sa nakaambang na pagsibak kay Coach Frank Vogel, sino ang dapat pumalit na Lakers head coach sa susunod na season? I'll begin with you, Homer. Just 1 minute. Go!
In a perfect world, you hire Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, because of his familiarity in LA, he knows the temperament of the fans. He has ties to the community. He is a star whisperer. Walang issues, Doc Rivers. But the bone of contention here, Commissioner, is that this is not about who the Lakers want. This is a question of who LeBron James wants. In August 4, LeBron James is due to sign a 2-year extension. He can choose to stay with the Lakers or he can leave. In order order to placate LeBron James, the Lakers will consult him. So LeBron James is the man who will choose. And if I know LeBron James, I think he will choose David Fisdale, dating assistant ni Spolstra sa Miami Heat, dating coach ng Knicks and Memphis Grizzlies, and now conveniently an assistant coach with the Los Angeles Lakers. So for me, the same answer to the question would be Doc Rivers, but because LeBron James is the de facto GM of the Lakers, I think it would be David Fisdale ang next coach ng Los Angeles Lakers.
All right. Well, Anthony, there are so many names being floated. So itong expected na pag-fire kay Frank Vogel, sino ang dapat na kapalit sa Los Angeles Lakers? 1 minute, Anthony. Go.
Well, I'm gonna pick up from what Homer said. Obviously, gusto ko sana si Ty Lue para sa Los Angeles Lakers because, he's played with LeBron. He's actually coached LeBron to a championship. So he knows the ins and outs. He knows how to pick the brain of LeBron. And he's worked with LeBron. So that should have been perfect. But again, it's not a perfect world. He's not anymore available. He's with the crosstown Clippers. And so right now, I think he might have to go with David Fisdale. Tama nga yung sinabi ni Homer because he has also worked with LeBron James over in Miami. He knows the ins and outs of what LeBron might want to be able to do. He knows LeBron's game. He also knows the Lakers being there. So I think it's going to fall down to a more familiar name as far as LeBron is concerned. David Fisdale fits that bill, Paul.
All right. Well, a lot of things can happen, and yan ang ating mga issues of fast take. And I want to continue this discussion on the NBA at least for a couple of minutes here. Alam natin na a lot of things are now moving up to the postseason. But let me ask the two of you, ano ang more impressive para sa inyo? Yung Memphis Grizzlies finishing second in the West or itong Boston Celtics late charge after the All-Star break? Which has been really more impressive for you? Anthony, I'll begin with you.
I think the Boston Celtics, because, a lot of people gave up on them. Even I, myself, didn't think that they're going to be able to be at the stature that they're in right now. Now, nakita naman natin, Memphis is actually built through the years, and you saw the team that they actually had, and it was just that we were just waiting for them to break out, kumbaga. Pero ngayon, itong Boston Celtics, they struggled all throughout the very first half of the season, and then after the All-Star break, it seems like the switch just got turned on, and they're suddenly a different team altogether. And right now, I personally feel when it gets to the playoffs, they can actually contend with the way they're playing. So para sa akin, mas nakakagulat yung pagka-turnaround na ginawa dito ng Boston Celtics. Because yung sa Memphis Grizzlies, a lot of people expected that. And we're expecting even bigger things from Memphis in the years to come.
Homer, let me pick up on that. Obviously, itong team ng Memphis Boston, hindi ito yung mga they built from, they picked up stars and they started building. This is building within your organization, no? So, and of course, when you compare this to the Brooklyn Nets, to the Los Angeles Lakers, na kumuha ng mga players para palakasin, and now they're struggling. Lakers is out. Nets is probably going to be in the play-in. We don't know yet. They're in number 8 right now. Does this tell us that itong team construction is very important, and itong pagkuha ng mga super teams ay hindi na maaaring mangyari?
Yes, it only works. This building from the ground up, Commissioner, only works for teams that do not have the financial wherewithal to spend. Teams like the Lakers, they don't have to do that because they are willing to pay salary over the cap, luxury taxes, kasi mayaman sila. They make more money than the teams like a small market team like Memphis, which has no choice but to build from the ground up. But to answer your question, yes, I agree with mas impressive ang Boston, and here's why. Memphis, this is the same team, Commissioner, the last 3 years. The same coaches, the same team, the same personnel. So para bang kung sa pagkain to nagmamarinate and finally it's being put to the task, and then you see the product na, it's very delicious. Boston, impressive sila because they've had so much upheaval. Remember, they changed head coach. Not only that, they also changed manpower, and so much carousel in and out, revolving door na 2 players that they got rid to improve last season, nandun na sa kanila ngayon, Tease and Al Horford. And in spite of all that personnel upheaval, they won 27 of their last 31 games, and that is very impressive, Commissioner. So yun ang ko na Boston is more impressive than the Memphis Grizzlies run.
Talking about impressive, let's move to another team, and this is the Phoenix Suns. They have dominated the season. They are number 1. They're going to have home court advantage throughout the playoffs. Ito na ba ang taon, Homer, para manalo and I'll go with you first, si Chris Paul ng kanyang unang championship.
Yes, there are no more roadblocks. 2 years there were roadblocks, the Lakers and the Clippers, so always be there. And then you have the Denver Nuggets, but the Denver Nuggets don't have Jamal Murray now. He's gonna come back, but he's not gonna be 100%. Utah, as you can see, they're imploding right before our eyes. So the Phoenix Suns are the team to beat. And they have, speaking of the continuity, this is the same team, Commissioner. The only difference, when they go to the playoffs this season, the only difference is that they got rid of Frank Kaminsky yesterday. But Frank Kaminsky was playing only 7 minutes during the playoffs, so he's not going to be missed that much because you have Cameron, the two Cams, Cameron and then Cameron Payne. So Cameron Johnson and Cameron Payne, and then Chris Paul. What talk about timing? He's gonna be healthy. Balik bago siya nagbalik, and they're managing his minutes. And right now he's only playing 32 minutes a game. Kasi Cameron Payne is kagaya ba kay Jared Pinto, kay Pinto at saka Tenorio, just allowing Tenorio to get his rest, and then Pinto going in there without losing so much, and talent level is not that much. The loss of talent level. So yes, Phoenix. And then, like I said, Commissioner, you have to go through hell to reach your paradise. Last year was hell for the Phoenix Suns. They were up 2-0, di ba? Up 2-0, and sometimes you have to learn from that hurt. Manny Pacquiao lost to Eric Morales. He had to learn from that defeat. Oh, napakasakit, but then when I come back in there, I'm gonna get you. This is the Phoenix Suns year, Commissioner. Let's get your shirts, Phoenix Suns. Sorry sa Sixers. I'm sorry, Sixers.
Hold on. Well, of course, Anthony, you and I are Sixers fans. Now, I'm not gonna ask you if we're gonna win. I'm gonna ask you, who's coming out of the East? Kasi napakadikit ng laban sa East, from the Heat to maybe even Toronto. Everyone is still fighting out there. Who comes out of the East right now for you, Anthony?
Let's go back to your first question first. I do think this is the year of the Suns to be able to make it all the way once again to the finals. Dahil wala na silang kalaban dun eh. Kung tutusin mo, nakikita mo, angat na angat sila, pero ang ganda talaga ng labanan sa East. Which actually isn't good for us because, I want na sana yung Philadelphia 76ers angat din doon sa kabila, doon sa West, sa Eastern Conference. But, it's going to be tough because, we've got Miami who's playing very well, and you know what Miami does. When it comes to the playoffs, they play even better. Now, makikita natin, we're hoping that James Harden is able to play at an all-star level once again. His play has actually dipped. And so, if he's not able to pick it up, I don't think that they can actually contend. And hindi natin syempre maiwasan si Giannis Antetokounmpo because he has been playing so well. At the same time, we also talked about the Boston Celtics. So para sa akin, yun yung top 4 teams ko dun sa Eastern Conference. And who knows also, if the Nets are able to squeeze into the playoffs, hindi na natin sila pwedeng discount because with a healthy Kevin Durant and a healthy Kyrie Irving, they can do a lot of damage in the playoffs. And so you might be looking at 5 specific teams in the East alone. So talaga magpapakpakan sila sa East. Ito sa kabila, nakita mo sa Western Conference, I think Phoenix is gonna breeze through the NBA Finals. They're gonna get there a lot healthier. They're gonna get there a lot more rested. And so, going back straight to your question though, my goodness, I might still have to go. If all things are considered, I think maybe Giannis and the Bucks still make it to the NBA Finals once again.
All right. Well, it's sad to hear that, but I have to agree. Alam mo, bagamat I am a Philly fan, I still think may kulang. And that kulang is that Harden is a little bit older now and slower. I mean, he's not the same James Harden. He took only 12 shots kahapon and natalo sila, against Toronto. And, I really think that Philadelphia needs also, a more consistent bench to contend. But I'm still not giving up on Philly. I think they can still have a chance to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Homer, don't say anything here. Don't walang kontrahan dito. Okay. Very quickly lang. Who is your MVP right now? No need to explain. MVP right now sa NBA. Homer, I'll begin with you. Jokic. Anthony.
Yeah, Jokic for me as well.
All right. Well, you don't have to ask me. You know who's my MVP.
Embiid.
Are we talking about using our
sa Eastern Conference? Let me just tell you, the only thing that can stop Kyrie Irving is a COVID vaccine. That's been removed. So the Nets will go to the NBA Finals.
Wow, that's a bold prediction. Tingnan natin kung yan ay mangyayari because right now ang Nets are in 8th place. They'll have to beat Miami and then they'll have to play Philly. Wow, that's interesting. Good. And that's a good one, Nets Philly. Oh my goodness. Yan ang magandang laban pagdating sa semifinals ng Eastern Conference. Let's go to the PBA. Homer, quickly, I have about 5 minutes left here for you. you wrote about Mikey Williams and even Matthew Wright na medyo may problema pagdating sa kanilang kontrata. What is the latest? Are they leaving the PBA?
Matthew Wright texted me yesterday, and he said 2 teams overseas are winning the bidding war to get his services. We will know by Monday. I'll let you know as well. And 2 million of my friends at Spin PH, mga followers namin sa Facebook, they will be the first to know. And then, Mikey Williams, there is an impasse because yung contract ni Mikey Williams, it is a clause that allows him to renegotiate. It does not allow him to opt out. There's a difference. Kung sign pa rin siya ng 2 years. Pero ang clause sa contract, it says na pag manalo ka ng title sa first year, you can renegotiate for an extension that will be bigger than what you're getting paid. But if they cannot come into terms for an extension, Commissioner, he will still be forced to play until April next year. So yun lang. But then the money so far right now, may malaking agwat kasi Mikey Williams is asking for 1.6 million pesos a month. 4 months ago, kung tinanggap lang sana ng TNT, ang offer, ang hiningi ni Mikey, which was only 1 million pesos a month. 4 months ago, immediately after they won the Philippine Cup, hindi tinanggap eh. They were procrastinating, they were dragging their feet. So sabi ng mga reps ni Mikey Williams dito, they told me, if they continue to drag their feet, the price is gonna go higher.
Alright. Anthony, alam mo, nakita natin ang experience nila Kiefer, Thirdy, Dwight Ramos, and all the guys in the B-League. And it has not been as pleasant as we had thought. You know, a lot of their teams are struggling. A lot of their teams are not making the postseason. And even sila, kulang sa playing time. Ito sa tingin mo ba will affect the attraction of joining the B-League in the future for PBA stars or even non-PBA stars, just Filipino players trying to go overseas?
Well, Noli, I don't think so because obviously, the players are there because they want to play the game of basketball, but at the same time, they're professionals. They want to be able to go where actually the money or the grass is greener as far as they're concerned. And maganda naman yung opportunity sa Japan. Yes, you may not be entering into a winning program, but they can actually pay a whole lot more than anybody can get paid here in the local shores. So as far as they're concerned, alam naman nila, napakaliit naman talaga ng kanilang playing windows. And so they'd like to be able to maximize their profit and earning potential. So I think if the B-League offers, I think more players will be able to go overseas. Not just there, maybe even also go to Taiwan, maybe even Korea. Because starting next conference, even Korea will allow already Asian influence. So, I think the players will still be going there more than anything else because of the financial considerations. No.
Well, Homer has written this about this extensively, and alam natin that there is still that attraction because of the contracts that are being peddled around. But then again, some players, meron din silang thinking that I would rather develop at this point. Of course, tama yan. Homer, last question. For the two of you, Converge is coming into the PBA, and that is a new team with an old set of players, no? So, ang tanong, Homer, do you think that Converge should trade their picks? They have 2 picks in the first round this year, or should they keep this? Or what are you hoping to see from this team na bago sa PBA?
I hope that they will want to win. Some other teams seem to be like they're only to push their brand. Like Blackwater, they're just happy na sila kung may, they call it branding. I want them to win. And I spoke to Coach Jeffrey Carriazo even before Converge officially sold it. He told me na he's happy where it's going. Para yatang may commitment to win, and they're keeping their key players. So if they should keep the draft, and that would show the public now we're interested. The problem is keeping that draft. Kaya baka tingnan mo naman terra firma, they keep the draft and then boom, months later they give it away to TNT or to the MVP group or to the SMC group. So yun lang. But I'm willing. It's early, Commissioner. Early in the game. I have faith in Commissioner Salud, who was in your program last week, and I have to give Dennis Oy, the other Dennis Oy, the benefit of the doubt. And but as they say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Anthony, alam mo, 2 picks yan, no? And obviously, hindi natin alam kung sinong papasok ba dyan. But if you look at the team ng Alaska now being put in Converge, anong kailangan itong team na to? And do you think they should trade one of those picks?
I think they should keep those picks because right now they have a decent team, kung tutusin mo, Kong. So, talking to Jeff Carriazo, actually through the years, even before this actually, him moving over to Converge, he really has a nice vision for this team. And I think that's what he communicated to Commissioner Salud and also to the owner, si Dennis Anthony Uy. And they see his vision and I see the vision na ginagawa ng Converge. I also had a long talk with Commissioner Salud the other day. And so it looks like they are committed to winning. Now, katulad yan ang sabi ni Homer, malalaman natin. But I do believe in this team and I think they will keep the picks. And I think with the picks coming in, napakarami daw mga crack films coming in. A lot of the coaches don't want to actually talk about the names that they are eyeing because baka maagal.
I know 4.
See? That's why. Kaya, di ba, alam mo, Homer, so right now, if Converge keeps those picks, I think they can be very competitive this time.
Jeremy!
Di ba? Dito mo.
Homer, I'm all ears here. I'm all ears. All right, gentlemen. It's been a fun morning and marami tayong aabangan as we go through this entire 2022 season in sports. And as usual, pagkasama ko kayo, masaya ang aking umaga habang iniintay ko if I can start shooting the rapids here in Pagsanghan. Gentlemen,
one more note, Commissioner. Parting shot kung pwede.
Pahabol lang.
I'm 54 years old and for the longest time, I've been in denial. I never wanted to wear glasses or contact lens. So finally, my eyes are beginning to betray me. And when I do a column, dumidikit na. So I finally went to a doctor today at the behest of my wife. Almost at gunpoint. So pumunta ako sa doktor, nagalit sa akin ang doktor, Commissioner. The eye doctor got mad at me. Naiinsulto ako, minura talaga ako. Bakit? Because, di ba, pagpunta mo ng eye test, di ba, may yung mga letters na babasahin?
Tama.
3 lang ang letters na basa ko. BBM. Yun lang ang nabasa ko ng letters. So, yun. I have bad eyes.
Okay. Maganda na yun. Okay lang sa akin yun.
Okay na. 2020. BBM. Ganun. Also, Commissioner, again, thank you for having me. Sorry for the technical difficulties the last few weeks, but I am so heartened that I'm here. Ibang experience talaga. Power and play. Anthony, as always, my man.
Anthony, thank you
it's
so much.
It's always a pleasure being here in the program of Com. And Homer, it's always nice being paired together with you. I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
All right. Maraming salamat, mga kaibigan. Anthony Santay and Homer Saison sa Power and Play. This is Fast Take. All right, mga kaibigan. Nakakatuwa, di ba? Yan ang usapan. All right, bago tayo mag-break, pasok po na natin ang ating isa sa mga paborito nating segment dito kung saan ang ating tinututukan ng mga viral videos and pop culture ng sports sa ating Stop and Pop. Itong video ito, mga kaibigan, ay tungkol sa kung may work from home, meron ding practice from home. Panoorin natin ito. Ito po ay isang lalaki na nagpa-practice ng kanyang golf. Wala sigurong hindi makalabas. Yung po nakikita nyo yung pintuan, paliit ang puwang. Hanggang napakaliit na, kasyang-sakto lamang ang bola ng isang golf. At naipasok pa niya, pambihira talaga ang paglalaro, pag gusto mo, lalong-lalo na pagka Masters Weekend. At yan po ang ating Stop and Pop moment sa Power and Play. Alright mga kaibigan, we will take a quick break. Bago tayo mag-break, let me just say, happy birthday, belated happy birthday kay Dennis Principe. Ayan, happy birthday, Dennis. We'll take a quick break sa Power and Play. Kami po ay magbabalik with Alton Dister. Dito po sa inyong paboritong kasama tuwing Sabado ng umaga, Power and Play! Hatid sa inyo ng Cherry Loom, Cherry Tigo, at ng Chups to Go. Ang oras po natin, 3 minutes after the hour of 9. This time check is brought to you by Birmingham Subdivisions. Come home to Birmingham.
I dare to dream big. To be a voice of my generation. To inspire resilience in the face of roadblocks. And in sharing my stories, I let others share in my passion.
Follow Kai's stories on Twitter and share yours. With Smart Double Giga Stories. Share 2 times the passion with 2 gigabytes for Twitter and more. Guaranteed every day. Plus data for all sites.
Simple. Smart ako.
Alex, are you ready to have some fun on your first driving lesson?
Nag-uumapaw sa real chicken juice na swak sa panlasa ng buong pamilya. Available in sweet roast, pepper roast, at harissa roast variants. Chooks to go. Masarap kahit walang sauce. Tawag na sa Chooks to Go Delivery Hotline 8687-1010 o online sa chookstogodelivery.com or via GrabFood at Foodpanda.
Mukhang kailangan ko na naman palitan ng bubong ko, pare. Mag-iisang taong pa lang yan. May tulo na kagad.
Ay, bossing! Baka naman kasi hindi matibay yung ginamit nyo. Dapat ang gamitin mo ay cherry loom, ang yerong aluminum. Basta yero, cherry loom. Tibay protektado sa pangmatagalang yero.
Basta man siya, di kailangan ng mamahaling panlaba.
Sa surf, linis ay todo at aming best ever bango. Ang surf na gamit nyo na with our best ever bango. Sa surf, linis ay todo at aming best ever bango. Ang surf na gamit nyo, todo linis at aming best ever bango.
New Surf with Active Clean with our best ever bango versus previous formulations. Todo linis na singgaling ng mamahalin based on technical test versus Brand X powder and polyester.
Ang surf na gamit nyo, todo linis at aming best ever bango.
Mukhang kailangan ko na naman palitan ng bubong ko, pare. Mag-iisang taong pa lang yan. May tulo na kagad.
Ay, bossing! Baka naman kasi hindi matibay yung ginamit nyo. Dapat ang gamitin mo ay cherry loom, ang yerong aluminum. Basta yero, cherry loom. Tibay protektado sa pangmatagalang yero.
Hi guys! This is Donnie Pangilinan, big summer lover. Tuwing tag-init, lahat big deal! Big sababidas, big family outings. At syempre, dapat may big refreshing Dunkin' drinks. Kaya mag-Dunkin' Iced Coffee and Icy Choco na. Now in big 22-ounce servings. Big and indulgence with Dunkin' Iced Coffee's signature taste and Dunkin' Icy Choco's rich flavor. Big time! There's nothing like a Dunkin' summer.
New season, new home. UAAP Season 84 every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m., and 7 p.m. on One Sports and UAAP Varsity Channel.
Dunkin' Delivery po! Dunkin' Delivery po! Dunkin' Delivery po! Dunkin' Delivery po!
Yes, may Dunkin' Coffee! May Dunkin' Coffee! May Dunkin' Coffee! May Dunkin' Coffee!
Ganyan ang Dunkin' D Coffee Box. 4 cups agad of signature Dunkin' hot or iced coffee, hot choco or hot choco java in one grab-and-go carton.
Bukas, Choco Java naman! Choco Java naman! Choco Java naman! Choco Java naman!
Para 4 cups agad, Dunkin' D Coffee Box.
Noli Iyala Power and Play sa Radyo 5 92.3 News FM. Power and Play with Noli Iyala.
Mula po dito sa Casa Marina sa Pagsanghan, Laguna, nagbabalik po ang inyong Power and Play. And we'd like to thank all of our sponsors na patuloy pong sumusuporta sa ating palatuntunan. Maraming salamat po sa Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum. Sa ganito pabago-bago ang panahon, mga kapatid. Minsan uulan sa tindi ng init. Kailangan natin ng matibay at protektadong bubong. Dapat ang bubong ay yerong may aluminum. Kapag may aluminum, tsak na pangmatagalan. At isa lang ang alam kong dekalidad na yerong may aluminum, yan ang Cherry Loom, tibay protektado sa pangmatagalang yero. Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum. Cherry Tigo, saluhin ang swerteng hatid ng Year of the Tiger on a brand new Cherry Tigo 2 Pro crossover with Cherry's Year of the Growling Tigo promo. Sa halagang 68,000 low down payment, may sporty 5-seater ka na safe in any road condition dahil mas mataas ang ground clearance nito kaysa sedan. Spacious din ang seats at legroom kaya mas komportable mapa-driver or passenger. May 9-inch infotainment system na pwedeng i-connect sa MirrorLink and Apple CarPlay para mas convenient at chill ang travel mo. Pili na from lucky colors of Tigo 2 Pro, Passion Orange, Lava Red, Graphite Gray, Vivid White, Tuscan Beige, at Laser Yellow. #move for more colors and adventure. Bisitahin ang www.cherryauto.ph to know more about the fun to drive Tigo 2 Pro. Chooks to Go, ang nag-iisang manok ng bayan. Thank you! Puntahan niyo po ang lahat ng kanilang branches at bisitahin ang kanilang pinakabagong Chooks to Stay at Chooks, the first dine-in restaurant of Chooks to Go sa Level 1 ng Robinson's Place, Lipa, Batangas. At of course, subukan niyo po ang kanilang quarter chicken with only Chooks rice and soup. Again, ang kanilang pong harissa roast at lahat ng kanilang oven roasted chicken. Chooks to Go! Masarap kahit walang sauce ang nag-iisang manok ng bayan. Joyride, ang bago ninyong kasundo. Thank you! Magpadala with confidence kahit para sa negosyo o personal bulk deliveries man yan. Kayang-kaya yan i-deliver securely with Joyride. And of course, abangan nyo po ang ating Joyride car na ngayon po ay na-launch na at ang motorcycle taxi service ng Joyride. So download now the latest Joyride super app. Elms Resto Bar Group, Elms Seafood Paluto, the latest offering of the Elms Resto Bar Group. Located at Unit 2, Ground Floor, Cali Bistro, Ever Commonwealth, Quezon City. Enjoy their delectable seafood menu in a relaxed, casual dining atmosphere for your salo-salo seafood meal. Visit also Carlito Sisig Seafood Paluto along Shaw Boulevard. Elms Resto Bar Group. Thank you also to Birmingham Subdivisions. Come home to Birmingham, located at Antipolo, Cainta, General Trias, Cavite, Marikina, Pasig, Rodriguez, San Mateo, and Tagaytay. Building community since 1984. Celebrate Christmas, or rather celebrate your new home, your home in Birmingham Subdivisions. Check out their Facebook page or call 0939-921-7458 or 891-27-731. Skin, your face and body anti-aging center. With check out all of their latest promos and of course call all of their branches at Alabang Town Center, Green Hills San Juan for your skin assessment and treatment schedule. 0917-890-1640 or 0977-809-8886. Thank you also to Asea Subic Beach Resort. Experience the getaway that you deserve and dive into limitless happenings, rejuvenating experiences, and gastronomic adventures. Asea Subic Beach Resort. And of course, Power and Play is powered by Smart. Thank you also to Lick Weave by Weave, hand in hand. Check out their IG pages. Maraming salamat, of course, sa Derm Clinic ni Dr. Angela Pineda. Alright, mga kaibigan, at this point, ang ating pong ipapasok ay isang panayam namin na nakuha namin with an NBA legend, an NBA veteran. He played 17 seasons with the NBA, drafted in 1981 by the Milwaukee Bucks. At siya po ay nagpunta sa Pilipinas para magturo, maging coach. At siya po ngayon ang kasama natin sa Power and Play. Mga kaibigan, walang iba kundi si Coach Alton Lister. And as promised, we have with us no less than NBA legend as well as one of the most notable faces on the sidelines in the UAAP today, Coach Alton Lister. Thanks for joining us, Coach. Really an honor to have you on Power and Play.
Well, thank you for having me, and let's just have a good time with this and get a lot of interesting stories and get a chance to talk about my career and my experiences with Ateneo.
Absolutely. You know, first of all, before we get to that, you know, you've never played. When I look at your resume, it doesn't say that you're a long-time NBA player. You know, a guy that got drafted in the first round back in '81, played with some of the greats, of course. You never played in the overseas market, but you've been in the Philippines for quite some time. What about the Philippines is it that has made you stay for so long, Coach Alton?
You know what? It's something about the Philippines that I just, you know, was attracted to when I came over. I didn't really know that much about the Philippines when the opportunity came to me. And then once I came over and I started off with San Miguel, it's just been a great ride and I have enjoyed it. It's just been a great experience for me. And, you know, I have only good things to say about the Philippines.
Well, you were, based on your stories and the things that I've read, you were brought in here by Coach Paul Howard, of course, back in 2008, and you became a skills coach for San Miguel Beer. And then, of course, the list goes on and on. You coached with Meralco, you coached with Talk and Text, you coached with Gilas, you're now coaching with the Ateneo. And when you go through that journey, did you think you would last 13 years, going 14 years now in the Philippines?
Never thought about it, just like my NBA career. Never thought about it. Just prepared myself for, just worked hard and tried to make myself available, accessible, and try to be a professional, every day, and just did my job. And I have enjoyed, the time over here in the Philippines, and it's been a really great experience for me.
You're a big guy. You're one of the excellent bigs, and of course that have come out of the college program, coming out of Arizona State, of course, and then you got into the NBA, and you obviously played a lot of the great legends, including your mentor. You played with him, Bob Lanier. But the Filipino is a small race. We are not the tall race that is most likely to play basketball. What do you think, in your experience here, Coach Alton, has endeared basketball to the Filipino?
I think just the passion for the game and the knowledge that so many Filipinos have of the game. This is the #1 sport in this country. It's played on every level. Everyone plays it. You can just go outside and play on a basket, on a court. Every time you look up, there's different tournaments. There's anything that has to do with basketball, from the professional ranks to college to the commercial leagues to the NBA. People just love basketball, and which is a good thing for me, because I've been basketball has been part of my life, ever since I was 16 years old.
Well, you are, of course, no newcomer here. And before I get to your work, the work that you do in the Philippines, are there any favorite places that you've been in the country that I guess has endeared the Philippines as well to you? And maybe have you learned to eat Filipino food, Coach Alton?
Yeah, you know what? I've tried a lot of food, and and just like it says in Rome, you do like the Romans do. I've tried everything over here, and I'm pretty much on a strict diet. But I love chicken adobo. I love pancit. Yeah.
Wow.
The more traditional. I don't really eat beef or pork, but anything with chicken or fish or anything like that, I definitely enjoy eating that type of Filipino food.
Terrific. And places? Favorite places that you've been to in the Philippines?
Well, I work all the time, so I don't get a chance to really go to too many places. But
in your 13 years, come on, Coach.
Well, I mean, I've been to a lot of the. Well, I've been to Boracay, of course, and loved it. And that's probably my #1 place that I've been over here. But just having training camps in different locations in the Philippines, outside of Manila, getting a chance to enjoy that. But again, I hadn't really had a chance to really explore the Philippines like I plan to. And that's on my bucket list. I plan to do that.
I am currently in a town called Pagsanghan in Laguna, where the falls is beautiful. You shoot the rapids going to the waterfalls, so you really gotta try this. And I totally recommend it for you. All right.
That's something. Hey, I'm gonna write that down on my list. Since you recommended it, I'm gonna write it down, and I'm definitely gonna go experience it.
All right. Well, you, as I mentioned, you worked with San Miguel, you went to Meralco, you went to Talk and Text, Gilas, Ateneo. As a big man's coach, as a skills coach, tell us about what you do for the players that you've handled, Coach Alton.
Well, I've handled players on all levels, from the professionals to the collegiate, and just try to, impart a lot of my experience that I have, and really just try to get them to understand, the fundamentals, the footwork, the understanding of the game from that position. But the game has changed so much, so it's not a traditional back to the basket type of training anymore. You want to pretty much create a guy that can go out and shoot the 3 ball, put the ball on the floor, set screens properly, roll, finish around the basket with either hand. Just be a productive player within the system, whichever they're in.
Oh, when you talk about the lessons that you impart, obviously these are the X's and O's, the basics in the skill set of a player. But when you go outside of that, Coach Alton, what do you think is the most important thing for a player to understand outside of the basic skills and talents and X's and O's that you can put inside that basketball court?
I think it's the passion that you have to have and the professionalism that you have to every day go about doing your job, and understanding that it's not going to happen overnight. You have to be persistent. You have to come to the gym early, leave late, really work at your craft, try to improve. And again, it's about the process. It's about the journey. And I'm real patient with even the pros, the college kids, and everybody's not on the same level. Some people learn quicker than others, and I just try to taper whatever I'm teaching to the players to their understanding, and just really get to know them and ask them, why do they want to be, a basketball player at this level? And once I find that out, what's their why, and then if they're willing to work and if they're willing to, pay the price and understand it's not going to happen overnight, and that, it's just, you just have to keep grinding and you have to keep working. And then, you go and you work guys out and you train them. And let's say you spend hours of getting all these shots and working on the footwork and the positioning, teaching angles and all that. Then when you get in the game, you might get 2 or 3 shots, but that's the work that you have to put in. And it's something that you have to do every day. And, eventually you want to just create good habits, for them to understand on the court by doing things the right way every day.
And it's always good for a young person, a developing pro, a developing collegiate player, to be tutored by someone who is as experienced as you, has played over like 17 seasons in the NBA, and clearly that's a wealth of knowledge that you impart. Now, I know you've handled a lot of players in your time here in the Philippines. Who has been among the guys that personally for you has been most satisfying in terms of growth and development under your tutelage?
Well, when I first arrived here in the Philippines, I exclusively worked with just the bigs, and then I evolved in working with guards and the forwards and just really any position. But I'm thinking early when I got here with San Miguel, I liked Danny I loved his footwork. I loved Danny Siegel when I was coaching with San Miguel. And then I went with Morocco, and I remember Hodges and who else? And then a lot of the imports that I brought in over here. And then with Talking Tex, Aram, poor Aram, did a lot of work with him. Kelly Williams. I mean, just the list goes on. And now in college with Anj Kwame and Gio, and working with these young guys, and then working with Gillis, with all the young talent that I was able to tutor and work with. So it's just a long list of guys that I just enjoy being in the gym, and hope that passion can rub off on them, and the work ethic. Once they get that, they'll buy into pretty much everything that you're trying to sell them, teach them.
Those are big names, from Danny I to Danny S and Boy Aram now, and in the pros at least. Coach, how do you rate the skill set in the PBA compared to, I know that you've seen it, you've seen a lot of players everywhere. How do you rate the players in the PBA?
Well, for the PBA players, they're just as good at the level that they are in this league. They are highly, I'd say, players that do a good job for their teams. Could play in other leagues. You see that a lot of the players are now going to other countries and playing. So I think the PBA is a good league, and the players over here are right up there with a lot of the professional teams in other countries.
All right. Well, you're working very closely now with the Ateneo team as one of the coaches, one of the assistant coaches. And Ateneo has been immaculate for the last 3 or 4 seasons. And they have just been unbeatable, particularly in the last time we played, season 83, season 82. And then, of course, now in season 84. You are, of course, working with a guy named Anj Kwame, who is the naturalized player of Gilas. Tell us a little bit about Anj, his work ethic, as well as how far do you think is his ceiling going to go?
Well, as far as him as a person, I mean, he's a great, great person, and he's fun to work with. He's like a sponge, I started working with Anj when he first arrived here. And he is a guy that's a fast learner, but it's something that he's always a work in progress. And he's never gonna, and I tell him all the time, it takes a lot of years to understand and to be, at the top level of your game. So you just have to continue to work, continue to learn from all the coaches. And I think Coach Tab has really put him in a good position to make him successful. I think Gillis has done a good job with him. But, for me, it's just talking to him every day, pointing out little reminders to him, things to do. And he already has, the energy. I always say a guy that has a motor. I mean, he has a motor, and he's really active. He can move. He's a versatile player. He's still developing, and the sky's the limit for him.
And talking about sky's the limit, there's one guy, Coach Alton, that you handled with Gilas, and who obviously is now going to be the hope of Philippine basketball, Kai Soto. Who is now, of course, playing in Australia. What are your impressions of Kai? What do you like about his game and his attitude? And, of course, do you think that he has a chance to make it to the NBA?
Well, again, as far as the person, that's the first thing when you're working with these players, you get to really know them on a personal level. And you really try to connect with them. And I've been knowing actually Kai ever since he was in high school at Ateneo, and worked with him a little bit at that time. And then he went away to the United States. And then we path met again with Gillis. He's young. I think he just turned 20. very skilled, very high basketball IQ. You know, it's not too many guys that are 7'1", 7'3", however tall he is, that, you know, has his skill set. I think he needs to continue to get stronger, especially his lower body. But his basketball skills to continue to get his body right and to be able to, you know, work on playing the game lower, bending his knees more, and having more leverage when he posts up. But, you know, as far as his skills and putting the ball on the floor and using either hand and the understanding of the game, he's right up there.
And you think his chances of making the NBA is good?
Yeah, I mean, he's the thing that I like about him is that, you know, he's a willing kid to learn and to do whatever it takes to put himself in a position. He's playing in Australia now in that league, and that's only going to help him get better as he matures. One of the things is just like myself, I was a late bloomer. You know, I really didn't come into my own until I got into my my 20s, and I was still growing and I was still developing. And then all of a sudden, everything that I had been doing in the past, everything just came together. And I see that physically, mentally, and also with his skill set, all that stuff one day will just come together at the right time. And he will definitely have an opportunity at the next level in the NBA, continue to play overseas, and also to represent this country on with Gillis.
Well, talking about the NBA, Coach Alton, as I mentioned, you played the NBA almost 17 seasons, and yeah, you were drafted 21st back in 1981 by the Bucks, and you played with them for a good number of years. Of course, you transferred to a couple of good teams, and you were traded actually for big people, for star players like Jack Sikma and a first-round pick in the Golden State Warriors trade. How do you compare the NBA today with your time when you were playing with the big names? You know, Magic, Bird, and Jordan.
Well, I tell you, these guys, number one, the athleticism is off the charts. That's number one. We had a lot of great athletes and a lot of players in my day, but it's a totally different game now. You know, it's more perimeter based, shoot a lot of threes, getting up and down, a lot of pick and roll. Back in my era, you know, the game was a lot more physical. Everybody had 7-footers where the ball started in, then out. And that was kind of the landscape of the NBA, but it has evolved into, you know, now a guy that 6'9" that can do more things. You know, he can dribble, he can get a rebound, push it, make plays in the open court. Let's take a guy like Giannis. You know, they have so much versatility in their game now than back when you had the traditional back to the basket center.
Right,
it's really not a comparison, but that's the era that we're in now. And you know, the ball is shot early and often from the 3-point line.
Would you have been effective playing in the modern NBA, Coach Alton? Yan po ang panayam natin kay Coach Alton Lister. Thank you very much to Coach Alton for giving us time. Well, he had a few more things to say. Sabi niya, he would have been. Sabi niya, pareho pa rin ang role niya sa NBA kung siya naglaro ngayon. But ibang-iba na ang laro. And of course, he's expecting that one day may Filipino na makakalaro sa NBA. Alright. Ilan mo, 2008 naglanding yan dito sa ating bansa, yan si Coach Alton, at napaitik siya dito sa ating bansa, no, nagustuhan niya ang Pilipinas. Talking about landing, about the last week of March, mga kapatid, no, may naglanding din po dito, ha? isang circumnavigator, yung pong umiikot sa buong mundo. At siya po ay naglanding sa Albay to create another Guinness Book of World Record para sa kanyang sarili. Siya po isang Turkish-American who holds now 17 world records in ocean rowing. And he is the first and only person to complete an entirely solo and human-powered circumnavigation of the Earth. At siya po ang ating ilalagay sa ating In the Spotlight. Sa ating In the Spotlight, pakinggan po natin ang ating interview sa ating Turkish-American adventurer, explorer, and circumnavigator, world record holder, Erden Eruc. Dito po sa Power and Play. For the first solo circumnavigation of the Earth, no other than our special guest today, Mr. Erden Eruc. Good day, Mr. Eruc. Thank you for joining us here on Power and Play.
Thank you. That was first solo circumnavigation by human power.
By human power, indeed. And, we're going to unpack all of that. As I mentioned, you hold more than a dozen world records, Guinness World Records, and a couple more were added because of this trip. But before I get to all of that, to all your accomplishments, Erden, you are Turkish-American, but you grew up in the U.S., is that correct?
No, I was born in Cyprus, raised in Turkey. I did not arrive at the U.S. until 1986 for graduate studies. And then one thing led to another. I live in the United States now, happily married to an American wonderful woman who supports my journeys.
Oh my goodness! And you get separated because of all your trips.
Yeah, she approves it, so that's a very good thing.
Then we know that you've been doing this, rowing and navigating and being an adventurer for a very, very long time. And it's very rare for us to have not only a navigator, an adventurer, an explorer, but also a Guinness World Record holder. I want to get to this first. How did you get this kind of interest, this passion for solo human-powered circumnavigating the Earth? And what motivated you to do this?
I was in the information technology world. I was a software developer. And in 1997, when working in our software development lab, there was a world map hanging on the wall. I traced my finger across that map one day, and I said, what if from Washington, D.C. to Turkey? And as soon as I asked what if, it became an obsession. I had to figure out how I could do it and when and how I would pay for it. So this obsession stayed with me for a while. I read books about it. And in 2002, while rock climbing with a famous adventurer, Göran Kropp, he was a Swedish man who had bicycled from Sweden to Nepal in 1996. He had encouraged my circumnavigation idea. We had an accident while rock climbing together. He fell and he died. And on the way back from his funeral in November that year, I decided, I drew the world map on a piece of paper again and marked the highest summit on 6 different continents except Antarctica. I said, I'm going to reach these by human power. That February, I bicycled up north to Alaska, and just like he had, bicycled to Everest, towing my climbing gear on a trailer. Right. Walked the length of the Kahiltna Glacier, climbed Mount McKinley to 2003. I married my then fiancée, Nancy. She flew home. I bicycled back. That was our honeymoon. And then, so one thing led to another. I started my circumnavigation in 2007 on the Pacific Ocean.
But, the way you give this story, it seems like it's an ordinary thing, like drinking coffee. You decided to go to the bus station and decided to go to the airport, go to another town and come back home, eat lunch and go to another town. It seems like it's so simple, but what was the motivation behind it? I mean, why did you want to do this?
maps give me ideas. Just looking at maps and tracing my finger across them, and then imagining myself in those distant locations.
Wow.
It's that sense of curiosity in action. It's that sense of exploration, and wondering if I am the person to get that done. It's a big challenge. Once you start measuring yourself against those ideas and these dreams, one starts wondering if I am the person who can do this. And when I started my circumnavigation in 2007, I did not know whether I could succeed. But by the time I was done, I had set 15 Guinness World Records in the process. Became the first person to have rowed 3 oceans, and first solo circumnavigation by human power. So I had to grow to become that person. I had to become the person who could set 15 Guinness World Records to get it done. That's a big lesson that I share with children as well. So do not set our goals low, and aim for the sky and see how many records you can set along the way.
Absolutely. Were you an athlete previous to that? I mean, I know that you have 2 master's degrees in mechanical engineering. You have an MBA from George Mason University.
Yes.
As you said, you were in the IT world.
Yes.
Were you also an athlete during that time?
I have been. My first climbing was with my dad at age 11. He took me up this mountain, 4,000-meter mountain in Turkey. Mm-hmm. And much like Mount Mayon, it was an extinct volcano. Yeah. And I stayed active. I did track and field, cross country, wrestling was my passion. I later picked up judo, and I ran marathons. So yes, I was physically active, and one doesn't just say, could I go by human? Yeah, you can't just say, could I go around the world by human power if you don't have that physical mindset. And I actually, being in an office, working in an office, I had that sense of entrapment. I felt like I needed to be outside and the outdoors and accomplishing these things. I had these daydreams, walking the ridge of Everest to the summit. Nice. Daydream, but I was stuck in an office, frustrated. So, so those ideas came and went, and then at some point I had to latch onto one.
Right.
And when we had this accident with Göran Krupp and he fell and he died, I said, life is short. I have to go. I can't wait anymore. Yeah. So that's what then set me in motion.
That world record, that first world record that you made back in 2012, started in 2007, more than 5 years of going around the world, the earth. That obviously, took your whole time. And when did you finally realize, are you still working, by the way, or is this already full-time? This being an adventurer, a navigator, an explorer, is this already a full-time thing that you do? And when did you realize that this is what you want to do? I mean, finally.
Well, I am right now a sailing instructor. When I am not on expedition, I do yacht deliveries and sailing instruction. That keeps me connected to the water. So I play on the water, I expedition on the water, I work on the water, and that feels wholesome. And that has been the lifestyle transition. I did not want to go back into an office after all my journeys, and I think the motivation is to demonstrate mastery, stay out there and on the water and take these underpowered vessels, a rowboat, across the ocean, which it requires quite a bit of research ahead of time to design the route, to execute that, and then stay on that route afterwards. It takes a lot of endurance, mental stamina, and a lot of wisdom and a bit of courage.
I don't think it's just a bit. I don't think it's just a bit here, Erden, because you have to use so many other equipments. You have to cross so many other plateaus and different forms of natural obstacles. That it's not that easy. As I mentioned, you were the first person to complete an entirely solo, first person and only person, solo and human-powered circumnavigation of the Earth that lasted for over 5 years. And I want to get that now, Erden, because I think a lot of our viewers are going to be very interested in how this happened and what happened during that particular voyage. How long, first of all, did you prepare for that? How long did it take you to prepare your maps, your equipment, yourself physically and also psychologically?
So, as I suggested, it was 1997 that I started thinking about this and reading about it, researching about it, meeting people, and meeting Neuron was in 2002. And the circumnavigation did not start until 2007. So it took 10 years of incubation, if you will, for me to get going. It was a lot of time in brewing, and it had to be done at some point. Otherwise, I had to just stop talking about this because it was all talk, no action. And the losing Neuron actually set me in motion. So the Six Summits project is what I'm trying to achieve now. In 2003, as I suggested, I climbed Mount McKinley, and then during my circumnavigation between 2007 and 2012, this, by the way, was not continuous. So during the typhoon season, for example, I was on shore waiting for it to end. During the hurricane season, I couldn't be on the water. So it had to be timed with seasons, so there was on and off. And I had to advance this journey carefully and safely and bring it to conclusion. And it just had to be pursued that way.
Yes, as you said, it is so human-powered and solo. In other words, you were all alone for that. To achieve that, to do it. But you had your crew, right? Did you have a crew, a support crew with you?
Not with me. No, on the ocean crossings, I was alone. So first person to circumnavigate by human power is the British man Jason Lewis. On his ocean crossings, he had another person on his pedal-driven boat. I use a rowboat. I use oars, and I was alone. And I never used a tandem kayak, for example, or a tandem bicycle. So on the ocean, on the land phases as well, I was self-propelled, I call it. So I had people around me. I wasn't alone in that strict word solo, but I prefer self-propelled for that reason. So Guinness gave him the first circumnavigation and gave me first solo circumnavigation as recognition.
All right. Well, I was reading, and you used rowboats for a rowboat for your ocean travel. You used a kayak for your shoreline navigation. You used, of course, the bikes on the roads, hiking on trails, and canoes for your river crossings. So it was almost
in Papua New Guinea.
Every kind of equipment that is self-powered. Now, my question is, did you ever feel alone or afraid? What was your mindset, Erden?
Feeling alone, isolated, that's par for course, right? So that is a part of the process. Boredom is a big problem. Time doesn't pass at times. I need to stay focused. I need to remind myself why I am out there and enjoy the solitude, if you will. And I don't mind that. I am used to it by now. So the journey, once on a routine, it keeps going. It's a wonderful feeling.
How difficult is this in terms of, like, I know that you have also safety equipment. You have tracking devices. You have GPS transponders. You have VHF radios. But how difficult is it to just make sure that everything is right? The elements are there. I mean, obviously, the natural elements are your challenges, and was this just a whole production that needed a lot of funding as well?
Well, funding is the bane of my existence. It is a big problem. We haven't been able to fund this other than donations and spending our own funds, retirement funds with my wife. So that remains a problem. Hopefully it will get resolved over time. 15 Guinness World Records was not enough. 17, we'll see. Maybe at 18 or 19, I will get the serious sponsors. They gotta take this seriously, because this is no joke.
It was
Yeah.
over 66,000 kilometers, right?
Yes, the circumnavigation was, yes. And I added to it this Pacific crossing. From
Yeah.
California, I started in June. I reached 80 days later Hawaii, and then a month later, after trying to get visas for China and whatnot, and some repairs later, I left again in October from Hawaii. I reached Guam in February, and then that took 128 days, and it took me 31 days from Guam to Legazpi. Yeah, it needs,
This is
some
about
repairs.
This is the Pacific Ocean crossing, but I want to ask
Yes.
you about your almost over 5 years of circumnavigating. What were the biggest challenges there? Can you tell us a little bit about that? You know, the kind of elements that you faced, as well as maybe natural, predators or whatever. You know that you because our only vision and image of navigators are the 1800s, the 1700s, and you see all of these boats going around, but you went around the world alone in the modern world.
Yes. So the biggest challenge for me was on the Pacific Ocean. After I launched in 2007 July, the conditions changed to a strong La Nina that year, and the winds just were not suitable for me to cross the equator. So I was stuck in the northern hemisphere, unable to get into the southern hemisphere near Solomon Islands so that I could go to Australia as I had planned. I ended up north of Papua New Guinea. I was in the wrong hemisphere in the wrong season. Typhoons, the first typhoon of the season formed May 4th, Typhoon Ramasun in 2008. That became a Category 5 super typhoon and progressed toward Japan. It changed the winds, fortunately, so I could drop south across the equator toward Papua New Guinea. And I couldn't bring it to shore. I sought help from Fabel Fishing Corporation, who was catching tuna, had a tuna fleet in those waters. This is a Philippine, proud Philippine company. And their vessels picked me up and brought me to General Santos City. I spent time at General Santos City. They became family. I became part of the crew, and I stayed with them. Then I left my boat in General Santos City during the typhoon season. Returned there and had Christmas together. And then that night we left, and they dropped me off where they picked me, so I could continue across Bismarck Sea to Papua New Guinea. So this whole Pacific crossing was out of control for me. I could not bring my boat to shore, and thanks to Fabel Fishing Corporation, we were able to continue my journey from where I left off. So I encountered the generosity and hospitality of Philippine people long before this crossing. So Legazpi, my experience arriving at Legazpi and receiving all the attention and all the generosity there as well only reinforced the idea that Philippine people are kind, are hospitable, are generous, are friendly.
Some practical things. Food supply. How do you replenish? Do you cook your own food on your rowboat? Again, ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is not a machine-powered boat. This is human-powered. Siya po ay nagsasagwan. I just told that he rows on his own the entire Pacific Ocean, the entire Atlantic Ocean. So how do you eat? Where do you get your food? Are you replenished? How does that?
I use dried foods. They are camping foods. They come in sealed packets. And each one is a dinner. I have breakfast and dinner varieties.
All right.
And I can add potato flakes in that, or I can add instant rice or couscous to add volume and calories to this. What I do is I boil water in a handheld stove. I use canisters of butane canisters for this, and add that hot water into the pouch and seal the pouch. 20 minutes later, half an hour later, I have my dinner ready. So the way I make water is using a desalinator. So that desalinator requires 12-volt electricity, And that is from a battery
Solar
bank
power?
that I charge using solar panels. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So
Perfect.
I have 290 watt production capacity
In
on
your
my
boat?
rowboat. Yes, it's with the panels attached to the sides of the boat and roof of my cabin. I can generate 290 watts, and that charges my batteries to 100% even in cloudy skies.
Nice.
By noon, I have 100% topped up batteries. And then from that batteries, I run a 12-volt system that powers my desalinator, my chart plotter, my navigation light. It operates my VHF.
How long do you sleep?
Radio.
When you were out in the ocean?
I need to get my 8 hours of sleep a day because I am living out there. I'm not racing, so I'm not pressed for time. However, trying to, after the currents and winds did not allow me to go toward Mindanao and into Celebes Sea, I started tracking west towards Surigao Pass or Surigao Strait or Leyte Gulf, Tacloban or Legazpi. Those were my options. So as I started zeroing in on Legazpi, the currents were difficult. The winds were fickle. I had squalls come and push me around. To be able to keep the boat on course, on track, I had to spend a lot of time on the oars. So I was, for about 2 weeks, I was operating on 6 hours of sleep. I would sleep 4 hours, get up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
And row, and start rowing.
And row again, and then go back to sleep for 2 hours in the morning at 5 a.m. or so when I was absolutely tired and dead. And then get back out there. And then last 72 hours of reaching Legazpi, I spent 40 hours nonstop on the oars to avoid getting pushed into San Bernardino Strait. And made it into the Albay Gulf. Then I slept 4 hours. I had another 12 hours of push until I found the depth of 50 meters, and I dropped anchor. And then I could sleep. That was 8 miles short of Legazpi, and I could take a break. In the morning, I couldn't. In the morning, the anchor would not come up because it was too deep. And I cut the line, and I went to Legazpi, and I checked in. I said, I am here.
How do you rate our shores compared to all of the other?
Tunay na nakakabilib, mga kaibigan. Erden Eruc, an explorer, navigator, circumnavigator of the Earth. First solo and human-powered circumnavigator ng mundo, and of course, of Guinness Book of World Record holder. 17 world records. At sabi niya, isa sa pinakamaganda na talaga ng mga baybayin ang Pilipinas. Maraming salamat kay Erden Eruc for being our In the Spotlight guest. Alright, bago po tayo magtapos, yung ating pong pinupulsuhan, pulso ng bayan, ang tanong po natin, ano ba dapat gawin ng Los Angeles Lakers to start their rebuild? Napakarami na nagpadala sa Twitter. Marami po salamat. And of course, sa Facebook. Basahin ko lang iba. Yung kay RC Bautista, sabi niya, trade na si Russell Westbrook kung mag-opt-in siya sa player option niya. Sabi ni Peter, trade Westbrook. Sabi ni Brian, trade Westbrook. Puro Westbrook kung gusto nilang i-trade. Or coaching change. Sabi ni Nino Cruz. Sabi naman sa Facebook ni Arnaldonio Dominguez, dapat ang gawin ng favorite team ko na Lakers ay more improvements sa depensa. Dapat may teamwork. Mula naman kay JT Chio, trade one of their 3 stars, although malabo si LeBron. Darwin Fernando, replace the head coach. Ang ating pong napili, however, para manalo ng ating Chooks to Go gift certificates na ngayong umagang ito ay mula kay Jenner Rivera. Ang sabi niya, ito lang naman katuwaan. Pahinain nila konti, parang San Miguel. Masyado ng malakas, kaya hirap pumili ng tatapos sa dulo. Dapat may role player at di lahat star. Tama nga naman, di ba? Hindi naman dapat lahat star para manalo. At mula naman sa Twitter, ito po ang isa pang nanalo parang sa ating pulso ng bayan ngayong araw na to. Si @AJ_boy Abnezar ang kanyang Twitter handle. Ang kanya pong comment, i-trade na mga diva. Ibig sabihin, lahat po ng mga pastar ay i-trade na para lumakas ang Los Angeles Lakers next year. Well, tingnan natin kung ano mangyayari. But syempre, very interesting days coming up for the LA Lakers. Alright mga kaibigan, that will do it for us today sa ating palatuntunan Power and Play. Again, we'd like to thank everyone who came on board ngayong araw pong ito. At marami po salamat muli sa Casa Marina Bed and Breakfast dito sa Pagsanghan, Laguna. Mula po sa amin lahat, maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. At lagi namin sinasabi, tuwing Sabado, bawal ang masungit at sa lahat po ng ating gawain at Mayorem Dei Gloriam, all for the greater glory of God. Kami po ang 1PH, teleserbisyo para sa Pilipino. Susunod na ang inay ko po. Again, happy sports weekend mga kapatid. More power, more play.
Sa kapwa ko Pilipino, ipagmalaki ang galing na meron tayo. Ilantad ang likas nating talento at magdala ng saya sa mundo. Sa harap ng pagsubok ay di susuko, para sa pangarap tayo'y porsigido. Magpakitang gilas na at huwag magpatalo, ipagdiwang natin ang Pilipino. Yan ang Pinoy. Mula noon at hanggang ngayon, talento natin ng bida. Mula sa simpleng bakuran hanggang entablado natin ipakita. May pagsubok man ng Pinoy, pinalalakas ng saya. San man tayo sa pulo, tsumbe, sibay, lakay, amiga. Sama-samang pakita ang galing natin katropa. Sa kapwa ko Pilipino.
Mukhang kailangan ko na rin.
Kapamilya. Kapatid. Kaibigan. Kabayan.